I told you about a recent conversation that I had with a store clerk who had some numbers and things that were written on their person. And so I was asking about their mathematical skills and trying to elicit a conversation about that. And of course, it wasn't about the mathematics. I don't think that anybody is so math driven that they want to put tattoos on themselves, but it was a universal number of some universal consciousness, and it was the number 2. And I said, well, have you ever read the Bible before? Because I think the number 3 is actually the number that you should be more concerned about. And so that ensued with the various conversations there. But I think that what Ray Comfort is observing in this generation, and I believe other generations, but especially in this generation, is people are declaring something about themselves. I think you declare something about yourself sometimes by the way that you wear things. The body piercings that people have, the proliferation of body piercings, the proliferation of tattoos, the sleeves, and now the legs, and now the tattoos are all over the face, declaring something. And I think Ray Comfort has a good understanding of the fact that we don't get hung up on those things. Those things are a symptom of something else that's going on here. Let's listen to more of what he has to say.
The reason I think it's easier is because of the blessing of the pandemic. A whole generation were confronted with their own mortality. They don't think, when you're 17, 18, 19, you're not thinking about death, but they were confronted with it. All around, people were dying. And so that's a huge plus for us. So when I go to that local college, I often begin with, are you afraid of dying? Straight off the bat. It's like hit them with a head-on collision straight away. Want to talk about the afterlife? Yes. Okay. First question, you're afraid of dying.
This is good. This is good. This is a good question for us to ask. Are you afraid of dying? That's a good diagnostic question, folks. Write that one down, because it's a great way to engage. And I don't think that this is just Gen Z. I think this is millennials. I think this is Gen X. Every generation has to face that same critical, existential question. And even if people are still young, there's a progression, right, that begins taking place in our lives. When you're younger, the strength and the arc of your strength is going up. You walk down that slope a little bit farther, then you begin to see waning strength, waning abilities, waning opportunities, waning situation. And then if you're mature enough, wise enough to be able to see, like your grandparents, hear the stories about your great-grandparents. Well, they were here. They did some phenomenal things. They were incredible. They lived through some unprecedented times. They lived and then they died. Grandparents, perhaps, if you have grandparents who are still alive, they lived, and perhaps they're in a nursing home, perhaps they're in a care facility at this point. Maybe they're on the verge of dying, or they've already slipped into eternity. So you begin to see this natural progression that is taking place in people's lives, and it's undeniable. You can't unsee it. You can stick your head in the sand. You can self-actualize all you want, but the subject matter of death is one that resonates with people because they think about it even when they don't talk about it. Thanks, Ray.
And often they'll say, a little bit. I said, what do you mean a little bit? It's horrific. It takes your breath away. And they begin to nod. And I look in their eyes, and I can see their eyes speaking to me. Their eyes are saying, how did this guy know? I haven't told mom, haven't told dad, my boyfriend, girlfriend. No one knows, but I'm horrified by death. And the reason I know is because Hebrews 2, verse 14 and 15, this is the Amplified Bible, so I'll say it louder. Every human being is haunted by the fear of death all their lifetime. And I remember back as a little kid, life to me was like, I was born just by the beach. I used to go playing on the beach every day, had a terrific upbringing. And it was like I was running as a little kid through this field of beautiful flowers. Life was just so wonderful. And then this big black wall, and written in blood was death.
Dang. Was your childhood like what kind of childhood did he have? But I don't necessarily resonate with that image, although I do think that's very picturesque, and I think it's very attention-getting. And I do believe that was his experience. But the next thing that he says here about playing cowboys and Indians, that's what we called it back then. I know that that's not politically correct, but we call it cowboys and Indians. And that has its roots in a certain American lore. I'm not trying to adopt the mentality of the patriarch. I'm just telling that was the name of the game that we played. Cops and robbers, the good guys, bad guys, whatever you called that game that you played, where you had imaginary things that would, delete the other people in the game. That part of what it is he talks about, I could totally resonate with.
It hit me. Because I used to play cowboys and Indians on the beach with my friends, and I'd get shot, and I'd die for 5 seconds, get up and start again. And I realized that death was coming for me. And it was a huge revelation. It was a huge weight on my shoulders that nobody knew about but God. And I remember when I was 22, wept at the thought of my wife dying, the futility of life. And that's what's happened to this generation. They've had a Solomon experience where they're saying, vanity, vanity, all is vanity. And this haunting fear of death is so heavy sometimes it drives them to suicide. That's why we've got a massive suicide. That's why people drown themselves in alcohol and drugs to try and break free from this weight that the fear of death brings that nobody talks about. It's like an elephant in the room that's stomping on everybody and nobody talks about. But Christians need to talk about it, to confront it on and say, Jesus Christ has abolished death and brought life and immortality to light through the gospel. I'm going to tell you how he did that.
All right. Yeah. I want to get the end of that statement there. All right. Jump in the comment section if you have anything to say with regards to that statement. I think that's a very clear question that can be asked. Are you afraid of death? I mean, there's a lot of defenses and a lot of things that people can put up, barriers that people can put up so they don't have to deal with certain things. Oh yeah, we don't want him right now, or no thank you, or we're just going to keep walking, or we don't agree with what it is you're saying. Are you afraid of death? Great question. I want to speed this up just a little bit and go to another section here where I think they do a great job. I'm looking at my notes here. It's about the 6-minute mark. All right.
Saying, yes, I'm going to do it. I've looked up books, I've studied stuff like that. It's just breathtakingly scary.
Yeah, and we did an episode actually on our podcast, the Living Waters podcast, where we talked about how do you reach Gen Z. And Gen Z, it's from 97 to 2012. So you're talking about ages 12 to 27 currently.
All right. So that puts our kids squarely in the Zoomer generation, the Gen Z, the Zoomers.
And, I think one of the biggest unfortunate dynamics that's happened in the church is that we've been so focused on trying to cater to them with cool and fun stuff.
See how we connect the dots on this show? Vodi Bakum was talking about just give them Candyland, just give them soft serve. Just don't let them know that this is a fearful thing to fall in the hands of a living God. Don't let them know about those realities. Just make everything light, make it fun. Let's have the pyrotechnics and all the different trappings of Christianity, and we'll make Christianity cool, and we'll make it something that people want to be engaged in, and something that's vibrant, and something that's, and it is all of those things, but the coolness comes with the fact that when the Chinese Christians are in a room and you ask a room full of Chinese Christians, how many of you guys have been to jail? And 90% of the room raises their hand. Oh, wait, that's not what I expected. Well, what did you expect Christianity to be in a country that's closed? Our struggle is that we have so many different trappings of Christianity, so many different flavors, so many different varieties, that we think that normative experience, that sort of, well, if I don't like this, or this is not cool enough, I'll just kind of do this, I'll just kind of do that. We don't move like that. And when you begin to move like that, then they're beginning to talk about, I love the discussion and the way that they're talking about it here. That's not the way that Christians move. And so helping them understand what the rhythm of the Christian faith actually is.
And, to speak their lingo and whatnot, which, look, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with trying to speak to them in a way that they'll understand, but we've been, bad drip, but we've been so focused on that, along with what Mark said, we have.
And that actually, the way he used drip right there, it didn't really go with what it was he was talking about, but that's okay. It relates to fashion and the way people wear their fashion. And so it's their gear, it's their fashion, it's the way that they carry themselves. It's like a second cousin to swag, but it is a fashion statement that you're making principally, I would say, by the shoes that you wear. All right, let's get back to the subject matter.